Bravescast, the home of the Braves.
Play ball!
That's intense.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to the first episode of what we're calling the Bravescast. My name's Penny Lane, but you might know me as Kurt Anger. I was a GM for the Texas Rangers for 5 seasons, and now I'm a GM of the Atlanta Braves, going on my 2nd season. I'm joined by my co-hosts here, Brian Taylor. Brian, give yourself an introduction.
Hey everybody, Brian Taylor here, Season 5 rookie, GM for the Braves over the course of 2 separate seasons, Season 5 and Season 6. Also GM in MLN for a couple years, GM'd basically every side league you could possibly GM in, and overall journeyman. And also with us, fellow GM of the Braves, current mod, Laars Nootbaar. Laars, give yourself an introduction.
Hello, yes. Geez, Mod, I completely forgot about that until you brought that up. Laars Nootbaar Jr. This is season 8. I was a season 8 rookie? I think so. Second season as a GM at the Atlanta Brave organization. Current mod and all-around fun guy.
It's a bit worrying that you forgot that you were a mod, I'll be honest.
Honestly, I forget a lot of things.
Fair. We'll cut that out in post. We don't want people to know that.
Right.
So,
No, we
you
won't.
may be asking yourself, what is the Bravescast? Well, I was asking myself that too. Generally, I looked around, saw there's a lot of knowledge and experience in the Braves GM lounge, so I figured we should probably make that into a podcast. There's not a podcast out there that's about how teams and MLR in general is run, and I kind of wanted to go explore the back rooms of MLR, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, that works. Plus, I also, of course, wanted to talk about my favorite team in MLR, the Atlanta Braves.
Ooh.
Brian, you want to run through the format real quick?
All right, so here is how the general format of the podcast going forward will look like. This podcast will be a little bit different because we're still trying to introduce the format. But going forward, we'll start with a recap of the previous game that we will not have this time because we haven't actually played a regular season game to completion yet. Then we'll take questions that either one of us has written about a certain topic or at some point questions that we'll get from you guys, the audience, about GMing or running a team in general or even scouting stuff, things of that nature. And then at the end, do a preview of the upcoming Braves game, ideally with a guest from the team that we are playing. We will reach out to people as we approach those specific sessions when they come about. But yeah, that's the general format.
Thank you very much, Brian. And now go straight back to you, Brian. Go ahead and recap the offseason. Tell us what did we do? I forgot everything that we've done.
All right. I guess the guy that wasn't a GM and wasn't really a part of a lot of the offseason planning is going to talk about the Braves offseason.
It's nice to get more
that
Why
makes
wasn't
sense.
a major part? Why I wasn't a major part of the offseason was because I was a departure. Me, Sky McDowell, and Bozy McSkellington all declared for free agency at the conclusion of season 10, as well as 3 retirements from the season 10 Braves: Coco Mohawk, William Lloyd Garrison, who actually was in the same draft class as me coming into Atlanta, was a captain of mine when I was a GM here. So shout out William Lloyd Garrison, who's probably not listening, but if he is, shout out you. And IBO Bust, a guy who's been here since I traded for him before season 6.
I'm really sad to see Sky go. He was a captain for us last season, so it's a real shame. It's a loss we feel.
Sky and Bonesy both leaving for free agency were tough, and Sky ended up in the reigning Paper Cup champion Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and then Bonesy ended up with the Oakland A's. So
that's a great spot for him.
AL teams, yeah, 2 AL teams getting 2 great players to bolster their already great rosters. Let's not talk about other teams. Let's talk about our team for a second.
The best
and the
team.
people we brought in.
The best players.
first arrival, and most important arrival, me. Because I'm here on this podcast. That's why I'm the most important.
Yay!
I decided to come back. For once in my career, I decided to go back to a team I was leaving. I know. Great improvement as a person for me. We also made a couple other sightings, bringing in fellow Season 5 draftees, Io Torrent from the Texas Rangers, Street Lamp Lamoose from the Houston, formerly Colt 45s, now Astros, and Gang Weed from the Baltimore Orioles. So,
We had a shockingly good offseason, free agency wise, I'd say.
what was it about Season 5 draftees that really made you guys particularly interested?
Well, I didn't get to draft in season 5, so I just kind of wanted to go back and take the players that I definitely would have taken if I was drafting then. So, definitely. Brian, you were number 1 on my list, even though I wasn't a GM.
Sure.
No,
Also,
but
speaking of the draft,
I knew all the players from, I played with Io and Gangweed, obviously, and I knew Street Lamp from the rivalry. And obviously, weirdly enough, I did know you. We ran into each other at some point. I don't really remember when.
we played together in MLN.
And MLR.
And no, I think we played together in like MILR, maybe. We never played together
maybe.
in MLR.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, talking about draft classes, we did have a draft class. And by draft class, I mean one person. We drafted Antonio Bubinetti in the first round, I think 29th pick, no, 28th pick. And then to add on to the pseudo draft class, we grabbed Tommy Tripleton out of UDFA. So that was fun. That was a fun thing we did.
Lars,
Thoughts
I
on the
think that's
rookies?
your specialty here. What do you have to say about them?
I'm impressed both by their kind of insight into scouting. I'm really big into scouting, as I think the whole team is. But I think they're going to provide some, different ways to look at the numbers and the data that we have, and I'm excited. I know we're in game 1 already, but I think the sky's the limit.
I agree.
Brian,
Yes, do you want to give
Anger, noted scouting guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. That's the whole reason I signed on. My knowledge with scouting. Don't fact check that.
You know
Brian,
what
you
it
want
is.
to give a quick rundown of our spring training game?
Spring training game, we played the Cleveland Guardians, who I think I've played them like 2 or 3 times already in spring training games solely. So that's kind of wild. I'm definitely not stalling to see if I could pull the game up.
I threw this one
I
at
was
him
not
out of the
prepared.
blue. Yeah.
Didn't we
I
win?
told him he was
We
just
won.
going to recap the offseason.
We won. We won the game.
Yes.
We did indeed win that game. We won 4-3 after a walk-off homer by a new Brave Io Torrent. Shout out Io.
Who is
and then
Io is currently up in this game. Maybe he'll do it again. Wouldn't be a walk-off, but
we
would be
actually
very nice.
we're down 3-0 going into the bottom of the 4th after a 2-run 4th inning and a 1-run first inning from Cleveland, and then homers from Tex Wolf and a 2-run homer from Seymour Acid scoring Io brought it even in the 4th, and then bottom of the 6th, Io Torrent set us home to end that game. Io, of course, winning player of the game, and Kenny Kawaguchi getting the winning pitcher award.
Lars, you got anything you want to say about that or anything in general?
I was really impressed by that game. You can start to see the team matching together, even if it's just the first game. But you can start to see kind of what we were looking for when we picked up. Sorry, I also have a cat jumping all over me. We can start to see kind of the reason we picked up some of these free agents and kind of seeing their clutch ability to make timely swings as we did when we walked it off. Funny enough, last year we had the same thing. We picked up Bambi, and that clutch home run brought us to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we're all about clutch home runs here.
And it's nice to be on the right side of them for once.
Preach.
Okay, so that was all the recap stuff we have to do, which I suppose means it's my time. I have a list of questions for you and for me that you don't know anything about. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This is true. I have not heard these questions in advance. This is
Mhm.
indeed Make Some Noise rule.
Yes. Much like the spring training game, I'm springing this on Brian at the last minute just to see how he does.
It's time to be brave.
That was really good, Lars.
Thank you.
That's the new tagline of the podcast.
Okay, so the topic this week is, since it's the start of our podcast, the start of GMing. How did you get your start? The first question, quite literally, that I will answer first so you guys have time to think about it. How did you become a GM? I became a GM after in the middle of season 5. In season 4, I was on the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and the GM's job there came open at the end of the season, and I didn't get it, so I kind of was upset about that. So I left to go be a captain for the Anaheim Angels. And then there was a lot of controversy there. Pretty much immediately, the first GM I had there stepped down, like session 1. He just didn't have the time for it. That was fine. Promoted me to like the pseudo co-GM, since we didn't really have one. And then after that, we had a rookie that season named Calvin Gresink. How do you say that name, Brian?
Grensk.
Gransk. Thank you. I never learned. And the GM at that time, who I won't name, decided it would be an interesting idea to just stick Callie in MILR for the whole season. For those of you who don't know, back then, MILR was actually a minor leagues. It was attached to the teams. It was just not a very good thing. It's been very much improved, and my shout-outs go out to Uga, even though I don't like the guy.
I don't know why that was so
Shout out
funny.
Uga.
Yeah.
Shout out Uga.
No, so Callie was just stuck in Myler, and it got out eventually that the GM was just sticking them there just to see how they would react, as, in their words, an experiment. Obviously, that didn't go over well for most people. And after that, well, he doesn't know about this actually, so if he's listening to this, hey, there was a mutiny attempt that got 9 out of the 10 signatures needed for him to get mutinied. Before he could get mutinied, he stepped down, which was probably the right move, and I got my start there. What a perfect way for me to get my start at GMing. Just kind of sums up my time in MLR. Who wants to go
Funnily
next?
enough, I also started in season 5. So I was a season 5 rookie. Ended up getting drafted to Atlanta. And then partway through that season, they were looking for a captain to join the captaincy, and I said yes. And I don't think anyone else offered to join the captain room, so I joined the captains. And at that point, I was already the MILR GM for when MILR teams were tied to the MLR teams. I was actually co-GMs with the player formerly known as Sarah, now Usada Picora, the Expos. So shout out to her if she's listening. Probably not. But yeah, that was going there. And then about All-Star break, that current GM at the time decided he needed to step down for personal reasons. And once again, I was the only one on the team willing to step up to the role of GM. So because the LOMs no longer at this point did not have like a whatchamacallit, like an approval process for internal replacements, I just kind of got put in as GM as a rookie without any real idea of what I was doing. So I got really flung into the fire in Atlanta, and partway through season 6, I realized just how out of my depth I was, and then stepped down.
Yeah.
With respect to my MLN GMship, which happened significantly later, I just kind of got added in as an external candidate halfway through the year, and yeah, took
You
over
want
a
to hear
team that
something
needed
funny,
a new
Brian?
GM.
Mhm. You want to hear something funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
I might
Sure.
be the reason they started an approval process in the first place. Because when I became nominated to be the GM, they literally dragged me into a channel with just me and the LOM and kind of interrogated me for a while before deciding, All right, you could be the GM. So
I
that
didn't
might be
actually
my
get that.
fault. What'd you say?
I never actually got that
Yeah, no, it's because I was a
interrogation. I think
controversial
I have.
figure.
Ah.
hmm
You were a
And
controversial
you
figure?
were a controversial figure, as in past tense, right?
Yeah, no, nowadays everyone loves me.
It's true.
Sure.
Everyone tells me about
Sure.
that
hmm People talk about me? That's scary.
all the time.
You know, I forgot. For some reason, it was a thing in FCB for a season to just blame me for everything, even though I wasn't really interacting with college that year. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, Lars, you want to go?
Sure. Season 8, drafted by the Brewers. A season later, was put into the captaincy along with Brick. I guess they saw some leadership qualities in me. And then I put my hand up for a bunch of things. There was an LOM position available, but I didn't make the cut on that one. There's a mod position. I didn't make the cut. And then MILR season, let's say 10 or 9, one of the seasons. Kiwi, Cleveland had the Birds, and I was co-GM. And from there, I think it started to. We won everything. I don't want to brag. It was MILR co-GM of the year. It's a nice shiny achievement on my mantle. And then the
You
Braves.
don't want to brag, right?
No, I don't. No. I don't want to brag.
How is you not bragging?
No.
Hmm.
I was just saying things.
hmm
And then Atlanta. Who was the GM here? Dirk.
Yeah,
Uh,
Dirk Diglett.
Yeah,
stepped
was
down.
you.
A bunch of their captains decided to look for a different team. I put my hand up alongside Kurt or Penny, and ultimately they chose me. And then I asked Kurt to stay along with me as the co. And I think we make a pretty good team, and I think we have a pretty good team.
I'd agree. Which actually leads me pretty well into my next question. Describe the team when you took over. Describe how it was when you just first took over. I'll go ahead and answer first so you guys can have some time to think. When I took over the Anaheim Angels, it wasn't going well. We had a hole at pitcher because we had just traded away one of our best ones. And we weren't very active because the most active player just got traded because they were viewed as an experiment by the GM. So the cupboards were bare. It took me a solid minute to get that team working in a way that it was supposed to work. And I think I turned it around. It just took me a while. At the time, my basically pseudo co-GM but was Monster Mash, who I'm sure some of you people know. And he actually did a pretty good job for me. So yeah, it wasn't a great start, but I turned around in the end. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go next because my tenure was right next to yours chronologically.
It was.
When I took over partway through season 5, the Braves were fine. I'll put it this way: for a lot of the course of MLR, the Braves slash the because the Braves used to be the Expos, so the
Yeah.
Expos into Braves franchise, they were fine. They made a paper cup in season 3, and pretty much ever since until last season, they have just been fine. I took over a Braves team that was fine. I desperately wanted them to be better than fine, and then I just couldn't manifest anything more than just fine.
That actually is a salient point. I think that's a reason why so much GM burnout happens. You want your team to be more than it ever could really be, and it's just hard to wrap your head around the fact that sometimes things won't work out for you. There's 30 teams, there's 30 GMs trying to make their team the best, so it's very hard to actually build a very solid team.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm. Lars, you're up.
Oh, the Braves were in a weird spot when we took over, or when I took over. I think we were down to want to say 6 players, maybe 7. Can't remember exactly. But the entire
Sounds
front
about right.
office was gone. So much so that LOM was quite worried about the success of my first year. But we got to work pretty quickly, brought you aboard, and I think we made some smart choices, picked up some good players in the draft, and what a Cinderella season. So I think it started off a little shaky, a little nerve wracking, but I think by session 1, like I was ready to rock and roll, like I was ready to push us to the limit.
Well, you really did. You took the team farther than even I thought possible.
Thank you.
I mean, shoot, when I signed to Atlanta right after you took over, I was fully prepared for this team to not be good and just kind of help the rookies develop and just kind of ride out the tough year and then hope that once I left, you guys kind of put it together. And then it all just kind of found its way to working.
Yep.
And I'm still amazed that we figured it out.
When did you both of you, I guess, feel like we had a special thing going? Was it after the first 3 games where we went 3-0, or was it towards the end when we started kind of putting things together?
It was the end of the season, actually. I always thought we were a good team, but I didn't think we were great until about midway through our end of the season winning streak that we went on.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't remember what game in specifically, but we had won, I think, on a walk-off, and it just clicked to me, oh, this team could be something. We have a chance. And, it turned out well.
Yeah, I agree.
I do actually have a specific instance here. The Week 12 win against Philly. Because in season 9, I was on the Phillies. I saw firsthand just how good that team was. And then they improved upon their season 9 roster in the season 10 offseason. And they obviously went and had an incredible start to the season. So for us to go to Philly and then get that win, which kind of jump started that run towards the end of the season where we bursted our way into the playoff picture. Yeah, that was kind of the moment when I realized, oh shit, we can actually do something here.
Yeah, turned out well. Next question. It's going to be hard for you to remember this, Brian. What was the first move that you made? I'll go first because I actually had to look back to remember. It was a signing that I made for a player none of you have ever heard of named Jeff Loldy. Yeah, neither of them have ever heard of that player. Anyway, he was actually good to me.
I've heard of Jeff Loldy, yeah.
Well, the reason you might have heard of him is because he basically immediately became my co-GM because nobody else wanted the job. It worked out. He was fine. He wasn't amazing, but he did the job well. He helped me out. We did have 20 autos that next season when me and him were in charge, so, maybe we weren't the best GM duo, but we didn't crash and burn. We didn't get mutinied, so it worked out.
How many do you need to get mutinied? 25?
Well, back then, you needed... It's changed so much. Back then, it was you couldn't have more than 10 in a 4-game stretch.
Oof.
Because there were a lot more autos back then.
I see.
And then it changed to 10 in a season, and now it's 7 in a season? Or is it 5? I don't remember.
I have no idea. I'm glad we know that.
We've never came close, so I don't think it's going to be a problem for us.
Yeah, we'll never have to worry.
Mm-hmm. Brian, I assume you don't know what it is yet, so Lars, do you want to go next?
So officially...
I'm actively looking through the transaction logs.
Yeah,
I'm putting it that way.
Officially as a GM, it was you as a coach.
Oh, nice.
Unofficially, because I had asked them before, it was Rocky Lee, who I was with the Brewers. So I had reached out to them via DM and said, "Hey, if I'm going to sign you, would you join us?" And he said, "Yeah." So technically, he would be first if we do unofficially.
I think it unofficially counts because was I even actually the first official signing?
I think so.
I think what happened is didn't we group together like 4?
I think so, if I remember. Yeah, we moved pretty quickly.
Yeah, you were the only GM of us 3 to actually join a team during the off season. So, which I'm sure is a much different experience than joining mid-season. You could actually make a lot of changes quickly.
Yeah, I can't imagine joining halfway through a season. That would be interesting.
It's harder to do than you'd think because it's not really your team. Even if you were on the team beforehand, it's not a team that you built, and that makes it harder to, well, get motivated for one and keep your team motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you think you're ready now?
You got to win them all over.
I have found the first move.
Oh, good. What were you
My
saying,
first
Lars?
move. Oh,
No, I'll say it after. No worries.
Okay, cool.
my first transaction was actually a trade. I traded Ananias Thompson for a 4th-round pick.
Hell yeah, great move. Do you have any clue what that 4th-round pick turned into?
I can look.
Go
I can
ahead.
find the season 6 draft somewhere.
Yeah, did you even draft it? That's the real question. Because I also traded for a 4th-round pick that I absolutely did not use.
I did not use that pick. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of how it goes sometimes.
Yep.
Lars, what were you saying?
Well, I was just saying, like, joining halfway through a season, like, not only are you taking command of the ship, but you've got to kind of earn the trust, right? Like, in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't know if I ever did earn the trust of that season 5 team, which is good because then I cut all of them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I cut, I think, 13 people that offseason.
That sounds 13. That's a lot. So you had 3 remaining?
No, because back then the roster limit was 20, and I had 22 at the end of the season.
Jeez, what a weird world that was.
Yes, it was. It was a great team. Okay, so this is a little more nice. What was the most successful move that you made early on? And I think the most successful move I made was, like I said earlier, we had a hole in pitching. So I needed to fill it in the best way, and the only way really I knew how is by trading. I sure do love trading. I traded it is either a second or a first that we had gotten earlier for a pitcher you guys probably know, Richard Northstar.
Shout out Naki.
Yeah. And it turned out really well. Naki had a great end of the season, drove us into the playoffs off the back of Naki and another pitcher we had traded for, Einhorn. And me. I was not very good that season. And it worked out well until the actual playoffs where we got trounced 6-4. Just the worst time for the pitching to fail.
Seems to happen.
Yeah. Is that a dig at me because I'm bad at pitching? Because it's fair. It's accurate.
Oh, no. Not at all.
Mm-hmm. I think I've got like an 18 ERA this season. Yay.
Could be worse. Could be 19.
That is true. You're always looking on the bright side of things, Lars. I appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I would say for me, I think, and it sounds like I'm sucking up to both of you, but I think both of you were one of our better moves.
Nice.
Having, I don't have the same. Sorry, one of the cats. I have 2 cats, and they just love to annoy me. I would say not having the kind of experience that both of you do is super valuable because I'm still rather green in the MLR world. There's a lot of things that I don't know enough about, so it's good to always have that, vet leadership presence to, talk me out of my crazy ideas or talk me out of my crazy draft trade ideas where I'm trying to involve 450 teams and, 600 transactions.
That was great. I wish we had done that. Trading's so hard nowadays, I'll tell you.
It's hard.
There was only 2 trades made the entirety of the regular season last season. That's ridiculous.
Back in my day, that number was closer to 20 than 2.
I know, yeah. I feel like I made 21 season. And, Lars, I've always heard it's been said, it's not easy being green.
It's not easy.
No.
Yeah, there's
No
a
one
lot. I
got that
feel
one.
like, isn't it the Grinch?
No, it's the Muppets.
Oh, the Muppets. That's right. My kid likes the Grinch. I'm stuck in Grinch mode.
That makes sense.
I was gonna say, like, I think there's a steep learning curve. Like, as a player, it's pretty easy. You swing, you guess a number, you swing, whatever it may be. You can get really into scouting, but if you're just kind of like a casual player, it's not that difficult. But the more you learn into the rules and the kind of things and the parameters that have been set out, and you start to question. My favorite part is when I learn a rule and I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, and then it breaks down to me and I'm like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Like even
Yeah.
like draft trading, when I'm like, I hate that you can't trade a draft pick and you have to have an open roster spot. Makes absolute great sense now that I like look into it a bit more.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so like it's learning about this league, this season. This league has been around for a long time. There's probably smarter people than I and me that have made these rules and put these things in place. So they obviously know what they're doing. That doesn't mean that things can be improved, but I'm always willing to kind of learn and kind of pick up on, people who have been here long enough to guide me. So
It's like they say, rules are made in blood. And I will say, I'm probably a reason for at least a couple rules in the rule book because of how much shenanigans I did back when I was a GM. Or
I
back
find
when I
it
was.
interesting.
Yeah.
You're not the first. Like you talk about your shenanigans, and I was told that you were an interesting character when I was bringing you on board. So did you have a complete 180 or 360 or what?
Yes. Well,
360?
no. It's a 180. Uh,
Okay.
Basically, around the time of season 7, I kind of figured things aren't working out for me. I should probably find someone else to help me out. And that's when I got Kenny.
Yep.
And Kenny kind of definitely helped me step back from how off the wall I was as a GM, I'd say. Brian, your turn.
Oh boy. Okay, so here's the thing. I made a lot of stupid moves when I was GM, especially when I was the Braves GM. I did a lot of stupid things.
Nice.
Um, I will say probably the best, and this is going to be super funny. The best trade or the best move I ever made was trading myself
Oh,
because I
really?
stepped down from GMing during the middle of the season, and I wanted to leave a kind of clear slate for the person coming in for me. So I basically negotiated my own trade out of Atlanta, and I ended up going to Pittsburgh for a first round pick, which ended up being, I think, 14th. And then we ended up getting their previous year's first round pick, Herb Sessions, who was a clutch pitcher for Atlanta down the stretch, where they would end up making a run to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Uh, and then as a result of that trade, plus my trading of Dallas Houston for a first round pick and a couple guys, they packaged the 3 first round picks they had to go up to third to draft Ovaltine Jenkins.
Oh,
Someone
that's a
you
great
might
pick.
know as a guy that just got a paper cup ring as a
Yeah.
pivotal part of the race.
I
So
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I gotta say, the Braves definitely fleeced the Pirates in that trade.
I'm right here, man.
I know. That's why I said it.
Gotta love Kurt. You gotta love Kurt.
No, but that makes sense. It's hard to do stepping down as a GM. You have to know that you're not the guy, and you have to be willing to give it up.
That was
Agreed.
probably the best decision I made as a young GM who had basically no experience when I took the job and basically no experience even after I finished the job
Hmm.
was knowing that I wasn't the guy.
Yeah. Very
I would say I'm
humble.
much better at it now,
Yeah,
but
very humble, Brian Taylor. Okay. Any more thoughts, or should I move on to my last question here?
I think we can move on to the next question.
Okay. Final question I got. If there was one thing you could change about your early GM ship, what would it be? This was actually the hardest one for me to think, and I really don't have a great answer. Not because I did everything great, but because I did everything badly. Um, I'd say probably it was a good move, but I shouldn't have been so callous about it. It's when I cut basically everyone off that team at the end of the season. It was not the greatest move in the world, just because it's not the way things should be done. Uh, it had to be done ultimately. That was a very bad team, and I had to rebuild it, but I should have gone about it in a better way than I did. You know? Yeah. That's all I got about that one, because I'm a perfect GM otherwise. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I have mine ready to go because
Okay.
I have one grave mistake that I made during my GM tenure, and I wish every day that I could have that back. So
Go ahead. Yeah.
when during the season 6 off season, I was desperate to bring in anybody, anybody that would sign to Atlanta. Um, and you know what happened? Basically, no one signed.
We
We
had
got
a
a
very
couple
similar
guys here and
offseason.
there, and nothing really happened. And I was struggling to fill roster spots. So I traded the 7th overall pick for 3 vets that weren't super duper active at the time.
Ooh. That was a
So
good draft class, too.
yeah, season 6 was a pretty good draft class.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would want that one back.
Yeah, I can imagine why. Do you want to name the vets, or do you want to let them have their animosity?
I'll choose not to name them. I'll instead name the people that I could have drafted with that draft pick. Um, I could have drafted Tensor Sporkleton. I
Oh,
could have drafted Pope Costley. I could have drafted PTBNL, now currently known as Blaze Bailey Finnegan or
oh
Zan.
yeah. Hmm.
Uh, I could have drafted who are other people that are like GMs and stuff. I could have drafted Ikna. Um,
Yes. There's no Igna was in the draft that year. He's been around forever. Why was he in the draft?
they just re-entered the draft. They went like 70th overall.
That makes
Could have
sense.
drafted Nori. Shout out Nori. Nori was back in the
Noriaru.
draft.
Hmm.
Could have
Yeah,
drafted
I
Mark
think Nori went
Spoon.
top 10 that year.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
12.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, people I could have drafted with that pick that would have made my life so much easier.
If it makes you feel better, Brian, I also didn't have any first round picks that draft. I had 3 second round picks. Did work out pretty
Yeah.
well for me, but yeah, because I'm awesome at GMing in every way.
And
All
very
right,
modest.
Lars, you're up.
Oh boy, I think to be honest, I can't think of something super crazy because I've only been doing it for a season. I will say I think my first year learning curve is that some of the players didn't get as much playing time. Like I think I could do a better job making sure that everyone feels like they're participating, and I'm going to keep my eye on it this season. But I think I'm still learning, so I haven't made a bad decision yet. To come.
So humble, Lars Nootbaar.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm actually out of questions now. Did you two have any questions about the start of GMing that you wanted to ask us or something?
What's your most stressful?
No, I think
What's
Okay.
your most stressful GM day? What was the black cloud day for you, both of you?
Season 7 draft. Maybe.
mine probably was well I'm gonna take an example from MLN, not MLR in this case. Um it was the year I took over. I took over like partway through the year. For context, this particular team had petitioned the league to not bring in a GM for the season.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, I wasn't going into the most supportive situation. But it got to the point where like I made a slip up in a team announcement, and then I got clowned on in Maine by someone from another team. And yeah, it's hard when you're trying to find a way to build when people are just leaking out information from your clubhouse and you don't know where it's coming from. So that was probably my darkest cloud moment.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. That doesn't sound very fun, and I'm very glad I've never had to deal with that.
Yeah.
You have
What would
any?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I came into Atlanta, they didn't have any kind of system set up, and I kind of taught myself how to do coding, but that's a lot of nights of feeling pretty rough about not being able to make things work. Um, I was able to put the bot together, but then it broke. I think session like 6, and I couldn't figure it out. Like it just didn't make any sense. I didn't touch anything; it just stopped working. And I was spending like my 10:30 to 4 a.m. time slots trying to debug it, and it was starting to get to me. But we figured it out.
All right. Um. Well, I think that's everything we needed to cover. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we let him go?
Boo Phillies.
I agree.
I will not say boo Phillies because I quite like the Phillies. They're a bunch of good people. But
Can you boo them?
what
Boo
I
them
will
in
say
spirit.
is no. What I will say is thank you guys for watching or listening. Hope you guys stick around. This is gonna be fun over the course of the rest of the season. And yeah. Also, hi Seymour, who is currently pinging us in our clubhouse.
Yeah, he's pinging me. You'll figure it out soon, Seymour. All right then. We don't really have a way to sign off, so bye.
Bye.